Welcome, stampers and crafters, to A Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe. Today is day 8 in my 14 Days of Love series. I'm going to teach you how to make a fun pocket card. It's so easy. You are going to love it, and you are going to want to make one. And chances are you're going to want to make several. So let's get started with the demonstration. For today's pocket cards, I'll be using the Be My Valentine suite. Specifically, in the stamp set, I'll be using the You'll Always Be the One for Me sentiment. I'll be also using the Be Mine Designer Series paper and the coordinating Sweet Sorbet ribbon. The first thing I'm going to do is take this 3.5-inch square of basic black cardstock and cut it in half diagonally. And right now I'll tell you that I'm actually going to make 2 cards today. The reason being, number 1, it's always just as easy to make 2 cards as it is to make 1. The second reason being that this way you get to see me make an entire pocket card 2 times, so it'll be easy for you to catch on. And the third reason is that for each of these pocket cards, I need 1 triangle of the basic black cardstock. And to get that triangle, I'm going to cut this square in half. So therefore, I have 2 triangles. I might as well make 2 cards, right? I want to give you a tip when you are cutting on the diagonal and you have these 2 opposite corners right on top of the cutting groove of your paper trimmer. Normally we start with our blade at the top or the bottom and slice right through our cardstock. However, when you've got these tiny corners, doing it that way, the corners are so small, they may catch on the blade and then it kind of crumples the corners. So to avoid that, I'm going to press down my blade and I'm going to start right on top of that cardstock. I'm going to cut up and then bring it down. And now, as you can see, I have nice clean corners on those triangles. While I am making 2 cards, I'm going to make 1 at a time. So I'm going to set these supplies aside and make this card first. I'm starting with a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 4.25 by 5.5 inches. So it's the same size as our standard A2 size card. I'm adding some Designer Series paper. This is part of the Be Mine DSP pack, and it measures 4 inches by 5.25. Then I'm going to take this triangle. The triangle will be used to form the pocket. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue, just a narrow line of liquid glue on the 2 short sides of the triangle. Okay, the 2 short sides of the triangle. And I'm going to adhere it to my layers. So on those short sides of the triangle, I want those edges to line up with the left and the bottom edges of my black rectangle, okay, the base. All right, so the glue is just along these 2 outer sides. And I'm going to set that aside for now. I have a piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock. This measures, I think a second, 3.5. Let me double check. 3¼ inches by 9, 3¼ inches by 9. And then on the long side, I scored it 4½. So this will become a card base, small card that will fit on the inside of that pocket we just made. I've got a piece of DSP and basic white cardstock. These are both the same size. They are 3 inches by 4¼ inches. 3 inches by 4¼ The DSP I'm putting on the front. And then the basic white I'm putting on the inside of that Daffodil Delight card base. The next thing I'm going to do is add a bow to this card base. I'm using Sweet Sorbet ribbon. It's about 1/4 inch wide. And this is part of the Be Mine suite in the mini catalog. And I'm going to have this ribbon near the top. It goes all the way around the front of the card base, and I'm going to tie a bow. Whoops, come on, Mary. Having a little trouble getting that loop through my fingers. So let's try again. There we go. That's better. So tie a bow. If you're not comfortable going all the way around with your ribbon and then tying a bow, you can skip the part of about the ribbon going all the way around that card front. You could just make a bow and use a mini glue dot or some multi-purpose glue, liquid glue, to adhere that bow to your card front. I'm going to slide this down a little bit. I'm going to curl this, and then it makes it easy for me to slide that down without ripping any of my card base. Trying to get it exactly where I want it. I can also curl my cardstock and move it left or right, but I want mine in the center. So think about that. If it doesn't sit exactly where you want it, just roll your cardstock a little bit, and then you can slide that up or down or left or right. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to trim the edges of my bow with my paper snips. I say edges, ends, the ends of my ribbon. And I like to cut those at an angle. And to prevent that bow from moving around at all, I'm just going to add a glue dot behind the knot. So I'll put it on the knot of the bow, and then I'll just press it down into place. And now that won't be moving or sliding around. So that is my card that will go inside of my pocket. Okay. Now I want to add a sentiment and a little bit of embellishment. So I've got some Memento black ink, and I'm going to stamp this sentiment. I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. It's good to have something with some kind of cushion when you're stamping under your cardstock, when you're stamping with photopolymer stamps. So I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to punch it with a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. I'm going to adhere this to that black triangle with some dimensionals. Who loves dimensionals as much as I do? I think I use them on just about every card I make. So I'm going to add that right here. And then I want to add some embellishments. Specifically the hearts and flowers embellishments. This is part of that same Be Mine product suite. So let's see. I think I will add, ooh, there's so many good things. That sheet's about empty. That's from another pack. I think I'm going to add the red flowers. So I'm going to add a large one here. And then from this sheet, this new pack, I will add, whoops, a couple of small flowers. I like how the red flowers really pop against the Daffodil Delight and the black behind it. So what do you think? Pretty awesome, huh? And pretty easy. Would you agree? Pretty easy. People can pull out their card after they've read your message. They'll stick it back in the pocket, and then they'll probably be showing it off to some of their friends and family members. All right, let's go through that one more time. I'll be making the same card, but this time I will be using different designer series papers from that Be Mine suite. So again, my black cardstock measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, 4 1/4 by 5.5. My designer series paper measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And now I want to adhere my triangle. Remember, I made 2 triangles by cutting a 3.5 inch square diagonally from opposite corners. You only need a small bit of adhesive, just a very narrow line of the glue on the 2 short sides of your triangle. And then adhere those so that their edges match up with the left edge and the bottom edge of your black card base. Okay. My Daffodil Delight cardstock measures 3 1/4 inches by 9 inches, 3 1/4 by 9, and then I scored it 4.5 inches on the long side. I'll use my bone folder to give that score line a nice crease. My basic white and DSP both measure 3 inches by 4 1/4. The white will be for the inside of my Daffodil Delight card base. Remember, if you want to stamp an image or sentiment on the inside of your card, you should stamp it before you adhere the cardstock to the inside of the card base. That way, if you make a mistake or you smudge it or your sentiment's not straight, you can flip over that and try again before you adhere it to the inside of the card base. Now, my designer series paper will be to decorate the front of that small card base. And again, I'm going to wrap some ribbon around the card front and then tie a bow. So this is day 8 of my 14 Days of Love series. I hope you have been following along. If you missed any of the days, you can find the videos on my YouTube channel, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe, or you can find the video with cutting dimensions, photos, Stampin' Up! Products used on my website and blog, stampinpeace.com. Stampinpeace.com. You get a little more detail on the blog. On the YouTube channel, you get the video. But details about products and dimensions will be on my blog, stampinpeace.com. And you'll be able to find each of the day's videos or demonstrations very easily. Once again, I'm going to stamp that sentiment with black Memento ink. The sentiment shows a nice, fun way to say I love you, right? Punch that with my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. And then add it to the pocket of my card. Do one more since these are small. With dimensionals. Whoops, popped right off. And then I will choose some embellishments to add to finish that off. And let's see, I think I'm going to add the red ones again. It brings out the red flowers in that print. I'm just going to place them a little bit differently. A large one there. And then a couple of the small ones on the other side of the circle. And I'm happy with the way that turned out. What do you think? Easy, fun, and it's a great way to show off designer series papers. If you love DSPs like I do, this is a great way to showcase different patterns and prints and images on your favorite designer series papers. Of course, you could use this card layout for any reason for making and sending cards. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration on making a pocket card for day 8 of 14 Days of Love.